Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this report with the amendment that was introduced this morning, the amendment that introduced an affirmative action fund that ring-fenced $2 billion for the 11 counties that had the lowest figures. Mr. Speaker, I want to support because in the third formula, where I was present and I sat on the chair you are sitting in, we took about 11 sittings, very difficult sittings. But something that came out very clearly was the unity of the House. Senator Kinyua will remember that the House was united in speaking fairness. And I want to thank this committee because if you look at the observations that they have given, they have not deviated from fairness. The parameters that have been used are slightly different because in the third formula, we wanted to look at Schedule 4, the second part of Schedule 4. And we had asked for more money so that we have the devolved functions being followed by resources. When we did not succeed, this House decided to break the boundary between the two sides of the House. And they debated and came up with a formula that was implemented and made everybody happy. Mr. Speaker, I am appealing to the House that we do exactly the same. Let's think in terms of our own unity and fairness only. In this, in the fourth basis, the sharing, according to the committee, are still looked at the devolved functions, not in the parameters that we had used, but they have looked at the functions globally and have ensured that first, nobody loses, which was the principle that came out very strongly in the third basis, that nobody should go below what they had gotten. So I want to support that as we look at this formula, let us think in terms of sustaining the momentum of devolution. Mr. Speaker, this is the House that protects devolution. It would be very sad that we squabble, and we have squabbles that derail us. I think our focus should be how we can protect devolution by sustaining the growth of everybody. We know that some colleagues feel that they should have been fast-tracked a little bit, but if you look at the agreement of this morning to release the $2 billion, that was a step in the right direction. And I really still think that we should persuade all our colleagues to agree with this formula. But the reason why we need unity in this House is because the amount of money we are getting is still not the figure that we wanted. The committee's initial proposal was $465 billion. We only got $405 billion. So we need unity of purpose to look for that $60 billion. So we must reach a point when we can talk in one voice so that we get the figure that we are looking for. A divided House will not be able to do that. So at the end of this debate, we must remain united, and we must really consider the fact that all of us must move together. I want to persuade my colleagues that we accept the resolutions that came from today's Kamukunji, because we called for it for that very purpose. But, Mr. Speaker, where is the actual problem in the money? Because we seem to be fighting over little money. The actual problem is the progression of funding the counties. In Bomas, the ideal situation was that in 20 years, 50% of the resources of this country should be in the devolved unit. That we expect that 50% to be in counties in 20 years. Right now, Mr. Speaker, we are only in the third term, and the rate at which we are going, we will not reach 50%. So as a House, we need to be united to refocus and fight for the resources to go down. And this is possible, Mr. Speaker. It is possible because there are functions that have been devolved, but resources have not followed. Even though the committee is saying in that paragraph, in the paragraph H, that the funds have been shared in the context of the devolved functions, we still have a lot of functions that are supposedly devolved in the Constitution, but they have not been funded. I said this during the debate of the third formula, and I want to repeat it, that Kilimo House is still full. Ministry of Health is still full of staff who were supposed to have been transitioned to take care of our counties. And if that is done, if we transfer resources that are in the Ministry of Agriculture rightfully to the counties, and resources that are still in the Ministry of Health rightfully to the counties, there is hope of us reaching the 50% in the next 10 years, if not 20 years. Mr. Speaker, that calls for unity within this House. It's very important that we stand united as we debate the division of revenue, so that we don't fight over the little that has arrived, while we know that there is a lot more that should be coming. We know roads should be devolved. We know even housing should be devolved. We know, and of course, as I said, agriculture, except policymakers. The occupancy of the Ministry of Agriculture should just be one floor, where the minister is, his PSS, and directors. Nothing more than that. And all other functions, all other monies should be devolved. The same thing with the Ministry of Health. If health has been devolved and we still have everybody in Nairobi, most of the money is still in Nairobi. What the counties are getting in health, we are informed, is less than 50%. And this has been raised several times by CRA to us when they're explaining that we seem to be fighting over what we have seen with our naked eyes, but there's a lot more that we are not seeing. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to really appeal to the House that we go for unity of purpose while we are debating and while we are approving. I'm glad my brother, Senator Osotsi, is here, because if we start fighting over the little, we will not be able to devolve everything. Let's devolve agriculture except for policy. Let's devolve health except for policy, the way the Constitution says. And look for new monies. Mr. Speaker, I'm looking for new monies that will follow the functions that have been devolved by the Constitution. Because if we had 465, the debate would not be here, because everybody would have jumped in billions. But now we have restricted ourselves to monies that the minimal that we have been given, the minimum increment. We still need to have this conversation with the National Assembly at some point, because it's like they have never understood what devolution is all about. No wonder we are still fighting over who supports and who doesn't support CDF, NGCDF. And we are saying the national government also has a right to devolve its money and its resources to the lowest unit. But while they are doing that, that is not money that belongs to the devolved unit. We want the money that belongs to the devolved unit according to the Constitution, so that we can be able to develop the agendas that were devolved. Madam Speaker, I was not going to say a lot, because most of my colleagues have said most of the things that are here. But I really want to emphasize that there is need for unity in this House. Let's negotiate and let's finish the way we did with a third formula. Let us negotiate and let's all move together and ensure that we are actually looking for money that has not been touched since devolution came, so that we move forward with devolution. Devolution is one thing that Kenyans are not going to take any risk in diminishing. So since this is the only avenue for Kenyans to develop, we must all be together. So my cry is, let's move together. Let's not be divided by the division of revenue. Let's look for the monies that have not been given to us. Let's look for the devolved functions that have not been followed by money. And let's demand for that money with one voice. And that is going to move us far. Thank you, Madam Speaker. With those remarks, I support with the amendments introduced this morning in the Kamukunji.